Finding the right church can feel like searching for a lost sheep in a vast wilderness. It's a journey that can be both daunting and enlightening, filled with moments of doubt and clarity. The search for a spiritual home is deeply personal, and it often feels like navigating through uncharted territory. It's a place where we seek solace, guidance, and a deeper connection with the Almighty. Within those sacred walls, we find a community that shares our faith, our hopes, and our struggles. The church becomes a sanctuary, a place where we can lay down our burdens and find peace. But sometimes, my friends, we find ourselves questioning if we're in the right pasture. These moments of introspection are crucial as they help us evaluate our spiritual growth and alignment with our beliefs. It's natural to wonder if the place that once nurtured our faith still serves our spiritual needs. It's a difficult thing to ponder, leaving a place you once considered a spiritual home. The memories, the relationships, and the sense of belonging make it hard to even think about moving on. Yet growth often requires change, and sometimes that means finding a new place to call home. But just as a shepherd guides his flock to greener pastures, sometimes we too must recognize when it's time to move on. It's about trusting that there is a greater plan for us, one that leads to new opportunities for spiritual growth and fulfillment. There are signs, subtle whispers in the wind, that tell us when a chapter in our spiritual journey needs turning. These signs can be easy to miss if we're not paying attention, but they are there, guiding us gently towards the next step in our journey. It might be a feeling deep in your heart, a sense of unease, or a disconnect between what you feel and what you see. These feelings are important to acknowledge, as they can be the very indicators that a change is necessary for your spiritual well-being. So join me now as we explore together 8 signs that God might be calling you to a new spiritual home. Together, we'll navigate this journey of faith, seeking the place where our souls can truly thrive and our spirits can find the nourishment they need. The Bible, my friends, is the cornerstone of our faith. It is the sacred text that has been passed down through generations, a divine guide that has shaped the lives of countless believers. It's the lamp unto our feet and the light unto our path. It illuminates our journey, providing clarity and direction in a world often shrouded in darkness. When we step into a church, we expect to hear its teachings, to feel its wisdom wash over us like a Sunday morning revival. We seek solace, understanding, and a deeper connection with the divine. But what happens when the word of God is absent, replaced by the words of men? When the sacred scriptures are sidelined for personal opinions and interpretations? What happens when the pulpit becomes a stage for personal interpretations, straying from the scriptures that have guided generations? The message becomes diluted and the congregation may feel lost. It's a slippery slope, my friends, one that can lead us astray from the true path. Without the Bible as our anchor, we risk drifting into uncertain waters. A church that doesn't hold the Bible as its compass may not be the ship to sail you to the promised land. It may lead you into storms rather than safe harbors. If you find yourself in a place where the sermons lack scriptural depth, where the essence of the Bible is missing, where the teachings leave you with more questions than answers, where the spiritual nourishment feels insufficient, it might be a sign that God is calling you elsewhere. Seek a place where the Bible is revered, where its teachings are the foundation of every sermon, and where your faith can truly flourish. Now, I'm not saying every sermon needs to be fire and brimstone, filled with dramatic warnings and intense proclamations, nor does it need to be a mere recitation of chapter and verse devoid of any real-life application or heartfelt interpretation. But there's a significant difference between interpreting Scripture with integrity and diluting its message to suit our own preferences. There's a difference between applying the word to modern life in a meaningful way and twisting it to fit our own desires or agendas. When a church strays from the core teachings of the Bible, it can leave you feeling spiritually malnourished, like you're missing something essential. It's akin to a thirsty man wandering in the desert, desperate for a drop of water to quench his parched throat. You crave the sustenance of true teachings, the kind that refreshes your spirit and gives you strength, the wisdom that nourishes your soul and brings peace to your heart. Remember, my friends, the Bible is our guidebook, our roadmap to salvation. It provides direction and clarity in a world often filled with confusion. It's the foundation upon which our faith is built, a solid rock that supports us through life's storms. If that foundation is cracked, the whole structure is at risk of collapsing, leaving us vulnerable and uncertain. So, if you find yourself questioning the teachings of your church, feeling a sense of unease or confusion, if you feel a disconnect between what you're hearing and what you know to be true in your heart, it might be time to listen to that still, small voice within. That inner voice guiding you towards the truth, urging you to seek out the genuine teachings that resonate with your soul. Now, let's be clear, my friends. Every church needs financial support to keep its lights on, to serve its community, to spread the word. But there's a fine line between fundraising and profiteering, between supporting God's work and exploiting his flock. When the message of salvation becomes entangled with the pursuit of wealth, when the collection plate casts a longer shadow than the cross, it's time to take a step back and examine the situation. The church should be a place of spiritual nourishment, not financial burden. It should be a refuge for the weary, not a marketplace for the greedy. Remember the words of Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. A church that prioritizes profit over people, that measures success in dollars instead of souls saved, has lost sight of its true purpose. It has become a business, not a beacon of faith. If you feel pressured to give beyond your means, if you see extravagance where there should be humility, if the church's focus seems more on earthly riches than heavenly rewards, it's time to ask yourself some hard questions. Is this a place where your spirit is truly being fed? Or are you simply feeding someone else's bank account? Is this a place where you feel the presence of God or the presence of greed? Remember, my friends, true wealth lies not in what we possess but in whom we serve. A shepherd guides his flock, protects them, leads them to green pastures. That's what the leadership of a church should be, a beacon of faith, hope, and above all, integrity. But sometimes the shepherds stray from the path. They might succumb to temptation, to greed, to pride. And when the leadership, the very foundation of a church, becomes morally compromised, it can shake the very core of your faith. Now, I'm not saying that every imperfection is a reason to flee. We all fall short, every single one of us. But there's a difference between a misstep and a pattern of deceit. When those in leadership roles consistently exhibit behavior that contradicts the very principles they're supposed to uphold, it creates a dissonance. It can make it difficult to fully embrace the teachings, to truly open your heart. It's like a crack in a foundation. It might seem small at first, but over time it can widen, threatening the stability of the entire structure. And in that same way, a morally compromised leadership can erode the spiritual foundation of a church, leaving its congregation feeling lost and disillusioned. Faith, you see, is a journey. It's about growth, about constantly seeking a deeper understanding, a closer connection to the divine. Think of a seed planted in the ground. With nourishment and sunlight, it sprouts, it grows, it reaches for the heavens, but without those essential elements, it withers and dies. Now, I know change can be daunting. Leaving the familiar, the comfortable, even if it no longer serves us, can be a difficult decision. But sometimes the most profound growth comes from stepping outside of our comfort zones, from seeking out new perspectives, new experiences, that feeling of stagnation, that longing for something more. That's your spirit speaking to you. It's a gentle nudge, a whisper in the wind, urging you to continue your journey. Don't ignore that voice. Listen to it. Embrace the opportunity for growth and renewal, because your spirit, just like that seed, deserves to bloom. A church, at its heart, is a community. A place where people from all walks of life, from different backgrounds, with different stories, can come together. It's a place where judgment should be left at the door and replaced with compassion, with understanding, with open arms and open hearts. The church should be a refuge, a place where everyone feels welcome, where everyone feels seen and valued for who they truly are. It's like a tapestry, you see. Each thread, each individual, adds to the beauty and complexity of the whole. But if certain threads are rejected, if certain voices are silenced, the tapestry becomes incomplete. It loses its vibrancy, its richness. So if you find yourself in a church that feels more like an exclusive club than a welcoming community, it might be time to ask yourself some hard questions. Because a true church, a church that reflects the love and acceptance of the divine, embraces everyone. Some folks might say, church is just a building, but I'm here to tell you it's much more than that. It's about people, it's about community, it's about extending a hand to those in need right there in your own backyard. You see, a church that's truly alive, it breathes life into its surroundings. It doesn't just preach the good word, it lives it. It reaches out to the lost, the lonely, the hurting souls right there in the community. Think about it. A city on a hill, that's what they called it. You can't hide a city on a hill. It shines its light for everyone to see. And that's what a church is supposed to be, a light in the darkness. A church that's truly connected to its community, it understands the struggles folks are facing. It doesn't shy away from the tough issues, the poverty, the hunger, the brokenness. It leans into them, offering support and compassion. Now, some folks might call this a gut feeling, but I believe there's something deeper at play. It's that quiet, insistent voice inside, whispering directions, guiding your path. You might not hear it with your ears, but you feel it in your soul. Maybe it starts as a nudge, a subtle prompting to pray about your church. Then it grows into a persistent thought, a nagging feeling that something isn't quite right. You might start noticing other churches, their outreach programs, their vibrant communities. Now listen carefully. Don't mistake fleeting emotions or personal preferences for God's voice. This is serious business. Take your time, pray earnestly, and seek wise counsel from trusted spiritual mentors. Look for confirmation in your life. Do you see doors opening to new opportunities for spiritual growth? Are you drawn to a particular church or ministry for reasons you can't quite explain? Pay attention to the peace you feel when you consider leaving. Does the thought fill you with anxiety and dread, or is there a sense of calm assurance that this is the right path? Remember, my friend, God speaks in whispers, but he moves mountains. Trust your instincts, follow his lead, and he will guide you to where you need to be. Trust, my friend, is the bedrock of any healthy relationship, and that includes the relationship between a church and its congregation. When there's a lack of transparency, when things are kept in the dark, suspicion starts to grow like weeds. Maybe it's the church finances. You're kept in the dark about how the money is being used, no accountability, no clear reports. Or perhaps it's decisions being made behind closed doors, without input from the congregation, leaving you feeling like your voice doesn't matter. Now, I'm not saying every single detail needs to be public knowledge, but there's a difference between discretion and secrecy. A healthy church operates with openness, welcoming questions, and providing clear, honest answers. They have nothing to hide, no reason to operate in the shadows. Financial records are available for review, decisions are made with input from the congregation, and leadership is accountable for their actions. This transparency builds trust and fosters a sense of unity within the church. When everyone is on the same page, when there are no secrets, the church can truly function as a unified body, working together towards a common goal. So if you find yourself in a church where transparency is lacking, where secrecy and suspicion reign, it might be a sign that it's time to seek a healthier spiritual home. Well, we've covered a lot of ground together, haven't we? 8 signs, 8 potential red flags that might indicate it's time to move on from your current church. Remember, this isn't about judging or condemning anyone. It's about seeking a healthy, fulfilling relationship with God. If any of these signs resonated with you, take some time to reflect, to pray, and to seek wise counsel. The decision of whether or not to leave a church is a deeply personal one, and it should never be taken lightly. But if you're feeling stuck, if your spirit is yearning for something more, don't be afraid to step out in faith. God is faithful, and he will lead you to where you need to be. Now tell me your thoughts, leave a comment below, and let's continue this conversation. Let's support each other on this journey of faith.